Hello, coders. Welcome to episode 217 of the How to Code Well podcast. It is Monday, the 24th of February, and I've been away. I've been traveling. I've actually been to Tokyo. I came back late last week, and it's that was such a fantastic place to be. If anybody has the opportunity to go over to Japan, then I highly recommend it. It's traveling is one of those things that opens the mind and possibilities and allows you to have the space to change your thinking and see how other people do things. Anyway, today, happy Laravel release day. It is Laravel 12 today. That is what we're going to be talking about for the whole episode. I was going to be ranting about ADP and my disappointment with the various things that are happening in the world in terms of the coding space and the way in which certain companies are doing bad things. But Laravel's out today, so let's talk about that instead. That's more important, right? Laravel is one of those frameworks that it just gets better and better as the years go on. And you can tell a good framework by what they do in their releases, because it's got to a point, Laravel's got to a point where the releases are actually not as exciting as they used to be. And in my opinion, that is a good thing. It is a good thing to be a little boring because you're not rocking the boat, especially when it comes to things like versions and packages and what's required, and you're not reducing the amount of people who can access your framework because you're increasing the amount of or you're decreasing the version support. So I tell you what, let's just get into the mix here. I've got some sites that I want to talk about that discuss Laravel 12. This is Laravel news. And the thing I'm talking about here in terms of versions is that it requires PHP 8.2. Now, PHP 8.2 is not actually the latest and greatest version of PHP, which is why I say that this version bump of Laravel isn't necessarily the new flashy version. I mean, because it doesn't require 8.3. It doesn't require any new changes in 8.3. So if I went to the release notes, go actually to the source of truth of Laravel. So this is laravel.com docs master releases. I'll leave links to all of these show notes. I'll leave links to all of these in the show notes below, so you can peruse this at your own leisure. But what we have here is a page that has a table of support policy, and you can see that we've got Laravel 12 here. It's supported at 8.2. That's the start, 8.2 to 8.4, obviously, because there's 8.4 is as high as we can go at the minute. And I'm just pleased that that's 8.2 and it's nothing else. It's not 8.3, because there isn't a lot of people on 8.3 and there isn't a lot of people on 8.2 at the minute. So it's good to see that they're keeping it at that point and they're not preventing anybody else from upgrading it. There are so many packages in the PHP space. They upgrade, they set their versions to such a high level for no apparent reason. And I say no apparent reason. I'm not an open source maintainer myself. They probably have their reasons, as in they probably want to reduce the amount of versions that they test on, because if they can just keep running off the bleeding edge, then they don't have to worry about the previous versions, which means testing is easier and all of that stuff. But in my opinion, if you want to increase the amount of community that is actually using your code base, then you ought to be looking at supporting older versions. And I'm saying older versions here. We're not 8.2. 8.2 is actually fairly new. It's certainly not 8.3. But it is very, very new. So I'm pleased to see that 12 is not a version higher. because that would infuriate me, because there's no need for that. Okay, so let's take a look now at some of the things that are involved with Laravel 12. What do we get? And as I mentioned at the start of this show, it's not incredibly flashy. It's not a new sexy version at all. It's actually pretty, dare I say the word, boring. And that's a good thing. And in my opinion, that's a good thing. So Laravel 12 is released, and the new stuff, the biggest headline, I think, is the starter kits of React, Vue, and Livewire. And they have all been updated, and they're requiring the latest upstream dependencies for those. The starter kits, I think, are going to help bring more people to Laravel, and I think this is a really great way of starting out as a PHP dev, because out of the box you have the ability to choose the various different front end frameworks that go alongside Laravel. So if you already know React, then you would use the starter kit with React. If you already know Vue, you would do Vue, and same with Livewire. So I think it's a really good step forward, and it's taking a leaf out of the sort of the React book, where the React had different starter kits for various different flavors of React. If you're a Gatsby, if you want that starter kit, if you want other types of flavors of React, then you would use those starter kits. So I think it's a good move, and I would be interested to see other frameworks adopting this policy, because I honestly think that this is a really good way of introducing new people to Laravel, or even people who wouldn't necessarily be using Laravel, because they can now see that starter kit is associated to that framework, that front end framework. It's more of an easier way. The on-ramp is smaller. It's less friction, because you can run a starter kit and there you go. Not only that, but the starter kits themselves, they come with what's called WorkOS auth kit variants. So various different ways of authenticating out of the box. So for example, passkey authentication, email-based auth, single sign-on, social authentication. You can get all of that out of the box based on the variant of the starter kit that you want to use, which is fantastic. And then down here, we've got PHP 8.2 minimum support continues. A way in which we can install Laravel 12, that hasn't really changed. It's just like Laravel new and then the project name, or Composer require Laravel installer. There's a link here to some docs on how to actually upgrade Laravel using using Laravel Shift. And then, of course, the support policy. One thing I will mention about the support policy is that Laravel 10 is out of support now, and that's for me, that's a bit annoying. Because I do think that they probably should still support Laravel 10. I mean, the Laravel 10 PHP version is 8.1, and PHP 8 is actually still very new, especially 8.1. It was released in 2023 on the 14th. So it is 2025 now. It is 2 years ago. Is 2 years enough for to be outside of end of life support? I don't know. I think that's too little. I would prefer at least another year, maybe even two. I think a 2-year rolling cycle, when you've got a big Laravel application, getting out of security releases is a little bit scary. I would have preferred a little bit more of a leg room. I can understand why they've done it, because obviously if you're allowing support for older, quote unquote, older versions of PHP, then you don't spend that time with the new stuff, with like what they're doing now with Laravel 13. You have to focus your time and your efforts and your energies on older things. But in my opinion, you're going to bring the community with you, and if you can support things for longer, then you have more loyalty with the Laravel. It's one thing as a contractor I'm very aware of when I go to companies and they're using frameworks that have a shorter lifespan. Let me just see. I don't know what Symfony has. Let me just see what that is. This is the joys of doing it. This is the joys of doing it live, because I can actually have a look. Let's do symfony.com. Symfony release. Is it process? Somewhere in here there is 3 years, and the securities are for 4 years. So and Symfony is more in my wheelhouse. So the bugs are fixed for 3 years, and security issues are fixed for 4 years for an LTS, for long-term support. Now, can we class Laravel 12 as LTS? And what is LTS when we're dealing with Laravel? Yeah, the debate there is out there. The jury's out. I don't know. Laravel 10 was released on the 14th of 2023. Laravel 11 is the 12th of 2024, and Laravel 12 is the 24th, 2025. So we are working on the bleeding edge, I guess. The Laravel 12 will be secure until 2027. Okay, so we do have 2 years. Laravel 11 is 2026, and of course Laravel 10, the security fixes until the 4th of February 2025, so that's already gone. So it's one of the reasons why I prefer Symfony over Laravel, is because of that ability to have that bigger window of keeping things updated. And also, personally, I prefer the way in which Symfony updates their components to give you more of a transition onto Laravel. But, whatever, man. I mean, it says here, for all Laravel releases, bug fixes are provided for 18 months, and security fixes are provided for 2 years. For all additional libraries, including Lumen, only the latest major releases receive bug fixes. In my opinion, that's far too short, but, whatever. Who cares about my opinion? The next thing I want to show you is this one here, which is everything we need to know about Laravel 12. Again, this is Laravel news. This was published on February the 20th by Eric L. Barnes. If I scroll down here, we can see that Laravel 12 will be launched today and will primarily be a maintenance release. It's a maintenance release that is only has only got support for 18 months. So, is it a maintenance release, or is it anyway, moving on. This is a primary maintenance release focused on release updates, upstream dependencies, and has minimal breaking changes or major few features. So we can see a list of some of the features here. So it's got a fluent helper, reversible form prompts, anonymous event broadcasting, a new minimal default exception page with dark mode support, chop start and chop end string helpers. Excuse me. There's a deduplicate helper. That's pretty cool. Let's have a little look at that. That's pretty tasty. So this is how we can collapse with keys to a collection, add duplicates to strings. Yeah. So again, I'll leave links to all of this. This is quite an in-depth list of the things that have been added to Laravel 11/12. And then, of course, starter kits. Woo! I think starter kits are going to be great. And then there's been a change to the Laravel website as well, a new look to the Laravel site. And the other one I wanted to show you was this one here. This was actually Cloudways. Excuse me. And Cloudways, as you know, I was sponsored by Cloudways to do Laravel tutorials. So I think this is pretty awesome. This was created on the 9th of December 2024. So it's a little old. But again, I'll leave a link to this in the show notes below. There is, this is a bit of out of date because it's got the release of 8.3 here. But it does list the various different before and after improvements. So there's improved performance and scalability. And you can see here that it's using cache async remember rather than cache remember. Streamlined dependency injection. There is enhanced developer experience. We're using the artisan commands. So after the update, you've got artisan scaffold product rather than artisan make model product and then -mcr for the various different arguments. And then advanced query builder enhancements. There's lots of different things. Security enhancements, modernized front-end scaffolding, and so on and so forth. There is actually quite a lot of change in Laravel 12, but it's not like heavy change, right? It's adjustments and cleaning up the code base and making things a little bit more saner, in my opinion. There's another link here, Laravel 12, an early look and release date. Again, it lists some various different things that have been added. I'm always interested in the bug fixes. So there's a bug fix section here. This, by the way, is Benjamin Crozart, modified on February the 9th, 2025. So this is relatively new, although the PHP version here is wrong. There is the way in which you can install Laravel 12, various different breaking changes. So str now matches multiple line strings. MariaDB schema dump uses the native CLI tools. Response factory contract has been updated. And then some bug fixes here. The validator numeric keys are preserved. There was an issue with the validator where numeric rule keys were re-indexed, leading to incorrect error messages. Laravel 12 fixes this by preserving the numeric keys as expected. Framework and skeleton preparation for version 12. You can see those changes there. And also a little description here as to how to contribute to your own breaking changes in Laravel 12. This is what I really like about Laravel. It's the community. The community really makes Laravel. I think without the community, Laravel wouldn't be nearly as good as it is. So I'm all for it. That there is the I'll leave a link to this as well. This is the Symfony release documentation. Symfony do a really cool thing with the backwards compatibility. So our backwards compatibility promise is very strict and allows developers to upgrade with confidence from one minor version of Symfony to the next. When a feature implementation cannot be replaced, a better one without breaking backwards compatibility, Symfony deprecates the old implementation and adds a new preferred one alongside. That is awesome. That is so good. I mean, that's just it makes you feel secure and I appreciate them for doing this. They spend so much time dealing with backwards compatibility. The deprecation policy also requires a custom development process for major versions. In those cases, Symfony develops at the same time two versions, the new major one and the latest version of the previous branch. Both versions have the same new features, but they differ in deprecated features. The oldest version, 5.4, in this example, contains all the deprecated features, whereas the new version of 6.0 in this example removes all of them. And again, it makes the upgrade process of Symfony so much easier because you have that step. You have that, okay, we're right at the edge of the upgrade. We have all of our deprecated stuff, and I'm aware of this, and I can run it through Rector, and I know exactly what I need to change, and then I bump it to, and then I make the change, and then I jump it to 6, and nothing else has changed. It's great. It's like done. There we go. And if I have to roll back because maybe I've missed something, I just roll it back to 5.4 in this case, and I have all of those methods that are deprecated now, and I can fix whatever is needed, and then I do that change again. I upgrade it to 6. So it's just an easier sort of, it's less of a big bang because you have that intermediary step. So this allows you to upgrade your projects to the latest minor version, e.g. 5.4, see all the deprecated messages and then fix them. Once you fix those deprecations, you can upgrade to a new major version of 6.0, for example, without effort, because it contains the same features. The only difference are the deprecated features are no longer there, which means that you've got time or space to test your stuff. So what I would do is I would upgrade all the way up as far as I can, say to 5.4, and then I would test it, right? Run Rector many times to ensure that all the things are clean and out, and then I would upgrade to 6, test it again, run Rector. Sometimes there's a problem. Sometimes you forget something, which means that you can roll back to 5.4, fix that issue, still have a stable application. Yes, you're running off of deprecated methods for that one fix. That's fine. Fix it, then change it to 6, run all the tests again, and Bob's your uncle. You are on the next version, and you don't have to worry about, I need to upgrade from 5.4 to 6, and there's this whole new way of doing things because they've changed something. The next major version is just the same as the previous version. It's just they've removed all the deprecated stuff. There's no new features that you have to contend with, which is just beautiful. It's just such a good way of doing it. As you can guess, I'm a Symfony advocate. The minimum PHP version is decided for each major Symfony version by consensus among the core team and documented as part of the technical requirements for running Symfony applications. Throughout each Symfony release, support lifetime, all released versions of PHP, including major versions, will be supported. In this way, the maximum supported version of PHP for a maintained Symfony release is the latest released one that is publicly available. Excuse me. And then it goes on to like the rationale of why it's done. So there's a 6-month period, was chosen as 2 releases fit in the year. Yeah, I mean, the way that they've done this is so it's geared towards the enterprise, and that's the difference between I feel Laravel and Symfony. I think that Symfony is far more enterprise focused. Laravel indie, there's still a bit, there's a lot of improvement that they could do to allow for more enterprise users on Laravel. Although saying that, I've personally seen a lot more job specs that require Laravel. In fact, the Symfony specs that I've seen floating about in the last, say, 6 months, they're less to do with the Symfony framework, more to do with the Symfony components. So it's not like they've got a fully fledged Symfony site. It's more that they're using components in something that are Symfony based. Anyway, anywho, I don't know how I've managed it, but today was Laravel 12 release day, and I've spent the majority of this podcast talking about Symfony. But there we go. Again, I'll put all of these links in the show notes below. I'm going to shoot off. As you can tell, I've got a bit of a cold that I picked up from the crazy flight that we did on all the way back home to the very wet and windy Brighty. But anyway, happy coding, everyone, and I'll see you again next time. Cheers. Bye-bye.